Bren McLeod presents Terrible Fanfiction. Gratuitous Debt. The day after Tammy's bat mitzvah, Wagstaff Gymnasium, 10 years ago. All right, students, that's enough volleyball for today, says Coach Hester gruffly. Louise makes her way to the gymnasium locker room along with the other girls. Louise then begins changing as she enters the locker room when suddenly Tammy walks up to her. "Hey, Louise, right?" asks Tammy curiously. "Yes, the brightest Belcher child at your service," says Louise cockily with a sly smile. "Yeah, well, I was going to say thank you, or whatever, for getting me out of that giant replica of my head and for keeping me somewhat company," says Tammy abrasively with a sigh. "It's no problem, but you do realize you owe me a debt, and one day I will collect," says Louise with a smirk. "Whatever, weirdo bye," says Tammy in a frustrated yet annoyed manner as she walks away from Louise. Out of This World Coffee House, Point Pleasant, New Jersey, 10 years later. Work is such a bitch. Hell, I thought school was. Well, it was awesome compared to this bullshit having to take orders from dickheads who don't know shit about shit, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Hell, one day I will get another job and then I won't have to deal with these dickheads, thinks Tammy to herself with a grimace. "Hello, are you even listening to me? Manager!" screams out an angry customer. "Fucking jerk-off asshole, I wish I could punch this jackass right in the mouth. I mean, what is up with his ass so much that he has to come in here and cause a big scene in the middle of an out-of-this-world coffee shop? Like, seriously, dude, get a fucking life, take a chill pill, and mellow out," thinks Tammy to herself, frustrated at her current predicament. "Hello? Tammy, are you there?" says the manager in angrily frustrated tone as he waves his hand in front of Tammy's face. "What? What is it, Steve?" screams out Tammy angrily with a scowl and a frown on her face. "Don't you yell at me, missy. I will fire you real quick like," says Steve angrily with a look of frustration and anger on his face. "Oh, don't bother, because I fucking quit. So shove this job up your ass," says Tammy angrily as she takes off her apron and throws it onto the counter and then walks off. "You ruined a good thing. Do you hear me? You ain't ever going to be nothing," screams out Steve. Tammy just flips him off and walks out of the coffee house, and then she begins walking down the streets. Tammy walks a couple of blocks in silence. Well, what now? I guess I could sit down in my apartment and chill out. But how long will that last? I don't have a job. I can't pay rent. Hell, I will be out on the fucking street. But it's not like Mom will give a fuck. She is too busy living her own goddamn life with her new boy toy. Fucking bitch. She doesn't give a fuck about anyone but herself. Hell, she wanted to throw me out of the house when I was 13. Luckily, Dad was there to stop her. But now he isn't. He is gone, thinks Tammy to herself sadly with a frown on her face. 13, the age I was when we moved. When I enrolled at Wagstaff, I met Tina and the rest of the Belchers. Weird last name, nice people are, though I won't lie. I was a major bitch, especially to Tina. I really shouldn't have been. I mean, I liked her. She was cool, it's just all the bullshit plus. Hell, I can't help my personality. I have always been abrasive and somewhat emotionally shallow. But hell, that ain't my fault. It's my fucked up mentality. So yeah, I came off as a total bitch, but like I said, I can't help that. If I could, I wouldn't sound like a bitch, thinks Tammy to herself with a grimace. Speak of the devil, thinks Tammy to herself as she stops in front of Bob's Burgers. Tammy looks at the restaurant before finally deciding to go inside. Meanwhile, inside Bob's Burgers, Teddy and Mort suddenly turn around to look at the customer just entering. Hello? Says Tammy politely, yet awkwardly, making a sheepish smile and a wave. "Hello there, young lady," says Mort politely with a smile on his face as he raises his mug of coffee. "Hey there," says Teddy in a polite yet deadpan tone. Tammy takes a seat in one of the booths, sitting there with her head down. It's so different. So weird I am sitting in Tina's father's restaurant, her territory, a girl I used to be super bitchy to. A girl who doesn't really deserve to forgive me. Hell, she could throw me out just for the principle, and I couldn't do jack shit about it, thinks Tammy to herself with a frown. Tammy, asks a familiar voice in curiosity. Tina? Asks Tammy back curiously as she sees the familiar face of Tina Belcher. Hey, Tina. Girl, how are you? Says Tammy happily with a smile on her face. I am good, how about you? Asks Tina awkwardly yet happily. Fine. I have been better, though, says Tammy sadly with a frown on her face. Well? What is it? Asks Tina curiously as she sits at the booth with Tammy. Well, where do I start? My dad died then. My mom remarried to another man, and even though I was only 16, she threw me out of the house, so I lived in my car for a while. Then I got a job and saved up enough money to get a small little apartment across town then. I quit my same job, and well, here I am, says Tammy with a slight smile but a disappointed tone in her voice. I am sorry to hear that, says Tina sadly with a frown on her face. It's okay, says Tammy with a slight smile on her face. Huh. It's so weird. I have never seen you in here before, says Tina in a surprise. Yeah, I was kind of a bitch back then. I am sorry about that. I mean, you were a great friend, and I shouldn't have been that way towards you. So I apologize, says Tammy apologetically with a slight frown on her face. It's okay, it was middle school. Things like that happen. It's all water under the bridge, says Tina understandably with a smile. So, where are your brother and sister? Asks Tammy curiously. They're just out. I don't really know where, says Tina simply slightly awkwardly. Tammy just smiles and laughs slightly. Hee hee hee. Siblings. You never know where they're going until they are gone, says Tammy amusingly with a slight smile. True enough, says Tina calmly with a slight smile. Suddenly, Louise and Jean walk into the restaurant. Oh my God, that was the longest hour of my life, says Louise exasperatedly. Hey, at least we learned a valuable lesson. Dentures and hot sauce are not a good combo, says Jean happily with a smile. And we bought that Edith Cranwinkle. Bitch down a peg, says Louise happily with a sly smile. The old spinster hag, shouts Jean with a smile. Jean and Louise then see Tammy and Tina sitting down together talking. Hey, is that who I think it is? Says Jean curiously. Yeah, it's Tammy. From high school she stopped by for a visit, says Tina in a deadpan manner. Wait, weren't you that girl that almost got crapped on by Zeke that one time, but Louise pushed you out of the way? Asked Jean curiously. Yep, one and the same. Also that bitchy girl in Wagstaff who well messed with your sister a lot. Which, sorry about that, I was kind of a bitch back then, but I have changed a lot. I'm not that big of a bitch anymore, says Tammy calmly with a slight smile. Oh, well, if the teenster is okay with you, I'm okay with you, says Jean happily with a smile. Thanks, says Tammy simply with a slight smile before looking over in Louise's direction. Holy crap, is that Louise Belcher? Damn, she turned out well hot. I mean, I would have never thought it, but then again, I never thought I would turn out to be bisexual, and well, here we are. Still, little girl in a pink bunny hat hardly struck me as anything other than that little girl in a pink bunny hat. But damn, she is freaking sexy as hell, thinks Tammy to herself as she looks Louise over. Louise stares at Tammy for a brief moment. So not that big of a bitch anymore. Implies bitchiness, but on a lower level, right? Says Louise sarcastically with a grin. I would prefer to call it a bitch with an excuse, says Tammy with a sly smile. Louise and Jean then take a seat in the booth right next to Tina and Tammy. So, Tina, how are you and Jimmy Jr. doing? Asks Tammy curiously. Fine, we have been dating for 2 months now, groans out Tina awkwardly. Finally! I was wondering when you two would get together. I mean, I could tell you liked each other, but it seemed like everything kept you two apart. But I am glad you two finally got together. It's about damn time, says Tammy happily, yet exasperatedly. Thanks, Tammy. How are you and Zeke? Asks Tina happily, yet curiously. We broke up a long time ago, says Tammy with a roll of her eyes. Oh, I am sorry, says Tina in an apologetic manner. Eh, don't be hell. We came from two different worlds, and in the end we just couldn't work things out. Plus, I am pretty sure he wasn't too stoked on the idea of a bisexual girlfriend, says Tammy simply with a sigh. Louise looks over in Tammy's direction at that exact moment at which point Tammy winks at her. Louise then blushes slightly as she looks away to hide her blush. What the hell did I just blush? I never freaking blush, for Christ's sakes. Louise Belcher doesn't blush, yet I did. What the hell was that all about? Thinks Louise herself frustratingly. Wait, you're bisexual? Asks Tina in a curious, shocked manner. Yeah, sometimes I prefer the P and sometimes I prefer the V. And sometimes, if I am lucky, which most of the time I am, I get both, says Tammy cockily with a smirk. Best of both worlds, P and V forever, shouts out Jean happily. Linda then comes out of the back room at that exact moment. All this talk of P's and V's, I feel like the sky opened and it rained David Bowie rainbows, says Linda happily with a slight laugh. Hey Mom, Tammy came for a visit, says Tina in her usual calm manner. Oh, yeah, I remember her. Didn't you two not get along in school? Says Linda curiously. Yeah, but I came by to apologize to Tina for that. I mean, honestly, it was just a hard time for me, I guess. I was just taking it out on her. So I just wanted to come by and apologize for that, says Tammy simply with a slight smile. Aww, that's so sweet. Well, any friend of our little tiny Bo Beanie is a friend of ours, says Linda with a smile. Thank you, Mrs. Belcher, says Tammy with a slight smile. No problem. Any friend of my little tiny Bo Beanie is good in my book, says Linda happily with a smile. Friends, like family but more friendly, says Jean cheerfully with a smile. Or pawns that can be used to get what you want, says Louise with a slight smirk. Like you and the Pesto twins, says Tina stoically. I heard those two have twin sex. With each other, says Tammy slightly sarcastically. I wouldn't doubt it. Those two are friggin' weirdos, exclaimed Louise equally sarcastically. Oh, I know. Tell me about it. I ran into them the other day. Oh my God. I thought I would have to chop my ears off or something, says Tammy sarcastically with a slight laugh. Oh my God, they are so annoying, says Louise in an exasperated manner. I hear you on that, says Tammy with a sly smile. Hey, Tina, I need you and Louise to help me in the back at the grill. And Jean, I need you outside handing out free samples. Might I perform some musical entertainment? Asks Jean curiously. No, Jean, we don't need it to be another Macmillan incident, says Bob in an exasperated manner. I was trying to entice her with food and music. I mean, it would have been a great way to fill the void left by her husband, argues Jean. Jean, just go put on the burger shirt, says Bob as he rubs the bridge of his nose. Oh, fine, party pooper, says Jean with a pout as he grabs the burger's shirt and goes into the bathroom. Hey, I will have you know I am the life of every party I have been to, argues Bob. Tammy then gets up out of her booth and begins walking to the door. I see you're all busy. I suppose I will just come back some other time, says Tammy as she walks to the front door. Okay, see you later, Tammy, Tina through the little window in the wall. See ya, Tina. Bye, Jean. Bye, Louise. Sayonara, Chickaroony, exclaims Jean happily as he exits the bathroom. See ya, says Louise through the same little window as Tina, outside of the restaurant. Yeah, I think I will enjoy seeing more of the Belchers, especially seeing more of Louise, thinks Tammy to herself with a smirk as she walks down the street. To be continued in Chapter 2.